horror show. It's week 25, and this week we're doing the second installment of the trilogy of Nosferatu with Nosferatu the Vampire. There you go. It's an hour 50 long. It came out in 1979, and it's PG. It was directed by Werner Herzog. Klaus Kinski plays Dracula. Isabelle Adjani plays Lucy. Bruno Ganz plays Jonathan. Roland Topor plays Renfield, and Walter Ladengast plays Dr. Van Helsing. I have really mixed feelings about this movie. I do. But I'll get to why later. I think it's a fine movie. I think you should watch it once, but go into it with the mindset of it's a long movie, but that it's so much more than just the surface level. Look deep into certain things, kind of thing. It is 1850 in the beautiful, perfectly kept town of Wismar. Jonathan Harker is about to leave on a long journey over the Carpathian Mountains to finalize real estate arrangements with a wealthy nobleman. His wife Lucy begs him not to go and is troubled by a strong premonition of danger. Despite her warnings, Jonathan arrives 4 weeks later at the large, gloomy castle. One of the mist appears a pale, wraith-like figure with a shaven head and deep sunken eyes who identifies himself as Count Dracula. The events that transpire slowly convince Harker that he is in the presence of a vampire. What he doesn't know is the magnitude of danger he, his wife, and his town are about to experience. It's a 7.4 out of 10 on IMDb, a little less than 50k people voted. Alright, so surface level. Alright, so there's the surface level, and then, alright, so tip of the iceberg, bottom of the iceberg, top of the tip of the iceberg. It's really boring, really tedious, really XYZ. But then when you're going with the purpose of like, hey, I'm watching this movie to watch this movie, it's really deep. And when you like notice all the small things, then you start to appreciate those things. So this rating is more on the surface level kind of approach, but as I said, it's a lot more than just the surface. I think the story is a 3 out of 5, mainly because when you do a remake of a movie, you either do one of three things. You do something completely different, you do something verbatim, or you kind of toe the line of you're still doing a remake of that movie, but you're kind of going in your own direction. So being in the middle of those first two options, this is kind of that, where it tries to do three things. It tries to be a remake of Nosferatu, it tries to be its own thing, and then it also tries to be Dracula, which is very interesting. But you know, the deepness, I would say though, the deepness of the bottom half of the iceberg. That's when right. I kind of just lost my train of thought. That was great. Okay, so when Nosferatu remake its own thing, Dracula. It's weird when they're all trying to be those three things at the same time, but you know, to a degree, when you're looking underneath the surface, it can work out. There we go, I found it. I think the characters are at 2.5 out of 10. Out of 10. Out of 5. Out of 5. Kinda, I don't know, man. See, it's one thing if you have a shot where the characters are being really slow and whatnot, but like, come on. There had to have been a better way of doing that, because it's like, dude, if I was there, I would have ran out of there. Which is like, maybe not, because you would be in such fear. But it's like, it didn't really feel like they played that off well. It feel like the actors, when they needed to look a certain way, were not looking that certain way. And so it's kind of like, oh my gosh, they're just standing there. And you're just like you don't even look like you're scared. You're just like, so just, you know, the whole logic and whatnot behind characters' choices and then such like that, it's like, have a reason, and have a good reason. I really like the music. I think it's a 4 out of 5. I really like the setting, but I suppose the music and the setting, the reasons why I really like them is also because I really like the atmosphere. All of it kind of mixed together. I would also say it's a 4 out of 5, the atmosphere. Because when I go in the deeper kind of pool of why, it's gonna all make sense. It just all of it fitting together, I think it was really good. The music, the setting, the atmosphere, all throughout the movie, I think was really good. So I have it as a 3.5 out of 5, but that's surface level. I'd say it's still a fine movie to go and watch. But like, if you go into it with the surface level mindset, you're not gonna like it. And if you do, then great, but... Alright, the IMDb reviews. The 1 out of 10s. Are all of you insane? Tedious. A failure. Almost funny. The horror of a bad movie. 5s out of 10s. Alright, so this is 5s. Did I see the same film as everyone else? Dracula the Sad Clown. Film doesn't know what it's trying to be. Visually stunning, horribly executed. 10s. The most complete of vampire films. Atmospheric, creepy, and gorgeous. Dracula Herzog style. Beautiful film about ugliness. And that's kind of where I'm going to start going into the deeper part of the ugliness. User reviewer on IMDb, Kamerad. His review of this came out April 14th, 2002. A really long time ago. I'm not going to read the whole thing, because it is a bit of a, you know, and I want this to be kind of short, but, you know, I don't want this to be like a 20-minute thing. At the very end, when he's starting to kind of, you know, the whole sum up, I know I haven't yet suggested why Herzog chose to make this film a comment on the whole expressionist movement as opposed to a straightforward homage to Murnau. I believe that Herzog feels deeply indebted to the expressionism, for they share many of the same themes as romanticism, such as loss and longing for the unattainable. Where the movements differ is in tone. Romanticism is about the beauty of suffering. Expressionism is about its ugliness. Herzog made a purposefully beautiful film about the ugliness that he believes is capable of unleashing itself in all of us. So, before I read that review, I was really in the mindset of this movie is going to be a 3 out of 5, and there's no like way I'm going around it. But then reading that, it changed my thought in my mind and made, you know, a few things click. This film is, when you follow Dracula, if you want to put it really bluntly, a lonely vampire trying to look for love, trying to find love, in which that's where it's like the whole, like when you watch the movie, the atmosphere, the setting, the music, seeing all those things together, it's like you feel like you're watching a romance movie, kinda, but then Dracula shows up. You feel like love is in the air, and then Dracula shows up. You feel like someone might kiss, but then Dracula shows up, because he wants all of those things. wants the love. He wants the kissies. But on a serious note, in the movie, there's a line that Dracula says to Jonathan, and it goes along the lines of how it's awful to not die, or to not have the possibility of dying. Although, no, not possibility, to not die. Because a vampire, they live forever, basically, unless someone goes and kills them. And he's like, that's really awful. And then, of course, at the end of the movie, if you're familiar with Nosferatu, you know he dies at the end. Oh, spoiler! When he does die, it's like he sees the sun, and then he looks at the camera, and his face is like, he's not ready. But it's like, why is he not ready? Because maybe he starts to understand that, hey, maybe I do like life, but it's too late now, you're dead. But then, also the whole idea of Nosferatu is that, Lucy sacrifices herself so that Nosferatu, Dracula, indulges on her, and is basically, it's a trap for Dracula, so that the sun comes up and then he gets killed because, oh, the sun, right? But in this, it's really interesting because when he starts drinking her blood, he stops and he's trying to he's thinking about leaving, but then she pulls him back in, and then yeah, that was interesting. Kind of thinking back the whole thing, because there's two ways you could look at that. You could look at it, one, as him being selfish and being like, hey, oh, if I stay, I'm gonna die, and I don't know, but I might die if I stay here. Then there's also the he doesn't want to do that to her because he loves her. Kind of similar to Dracula in Bram Stoker's Dracula, the Gary Oldman one, where he doesn't want Lucy to join him, to join his same fate, but then she's like, I don't care, I want to be with you, kind of thing, whatever. It felt kind of similar to that, except there's no dialogue. You kind of just see and assume, so it's either or. But if the movie's about love and ugliness and fear and death, basically, then I would more think that it's the latter, and he's like, I don't know if I want to put her through this. Which is funny because, the plague's around and people are dying. You see caskets and people kind of just drinking and whatnot all the time there. Well, at least near the end of the movie. But yeah. So, I like this movie. I really like the ending. Although then again, the ending's kind of odd. I'm not going to go and explain it away, but the ending, I have mixed feelings about the ending. I like it, but I also don't. Also, because I don't like it because of some of the dialogue that's said, and it just doesn't really make any sense. But then, like, the overarching theme of what's happening, it's like, I like that. But, anyway. So my ultimate thought, if you're still here, is this is a movie that you have to be in the right mindset to go watch. I think in that mindset is that it's very, very deep. It's kind of supposed to be a very deep movie. So if you go into it as like, oh, this is gonna be a fun, casual movie, you're gonna turn it off halfway through, basically, or probably, maybe not, but you're gonna get really bored. But you go into it with the mindset of it's a really deep movie and that there's like a lot of deep things to think about and whatnot, then there you go. But anyway, I'm Sam, Flying Guide. This is the horror show. This is week 25. I did Nosferatu, and I'll see y'all next week. Goodbye.